This is Marriage on the Half Shell, Raw and Exposed. So we named the episode The Kids Are Not All Right. Tonight we are going to talk about how divorce affects children. This is obviously something that I have been through myself, so we'll be sharing some of my experience. But we are also going to talk about statistics. So
just a little.
Just a little. We're going to open it with that. We want to make sure that that we get that covered because I think the numbers are important to this discussion.
Yeah, they are.
But I did want to open with a disclaimer. So, yes, my parents got divorced when I was 8 years old. But I despite what my mom tried to do, I maintained a pretty close relationship with my dad through the years until I moved in with him when I was 18. And also that we've said multiple times, and we have talked about them multiple times. They have been the quintessential grandparents. You know, your parents.
Your dad.
And my dad and my stepmother. Both my parents remarried about a year after the divorce, and I'm going to talk about my mom's situation. I'm not going to talk about that right now.
And you were?
I was 9.
When?
So I was about 9, maybe close to 10.
Okay.
When they both remarried, my dad knocked it out of the park. Couldn't have picked a better woman to spend the rest of his life with.
That's true.
And they, like I said, we've said this multiple times. They have been our primary example of marriage and how to do it and how to navigate life together. And they've walked us through some difficulties. They did more of our premarital counseling than a pastor ever did.
Yeah.
You know, and they've really been there for us. And I know that statistically that's actually not the case a lot. You know, a lot of parents go and remarry and then they get divorced again, and there's a pretty high rate of turnover where that's concerned.
I think about 60% of second marriages fail.
But they've been married for, I want to say 44, 45 years, something like that. It's
longer than we have.
Yeah, well, obviously. But Sherry did an awful lot of mothering for me that my mom did not do. And she really helped to straighten me out and steer me in the right direction when I moved in with them.
Yep. So
all of that is the disclaimer ahead of talking about the difficult part. Right. So I would never want them to feel bad about what I went through, because what I went through made me who I am now.
Yeah.
And it fed into the fact that we are 100% committed to our marriage.
True.
Because I, after I went through some difficulties, realized that I had the opportunity to be the, what do you call it, generational trauma. I wasn't going to carry it on.
Right. We wanted to end the pattern of divorce with our marriage.
Right.
And we have. So far. All of our kids 5 out of 6 got married, and they're still married. So, we'll see how that goes. But,
yeah. No, I
want the best for them.
Yeah.
Pretty sure they're hanging in there.
Yeah.
My parents stayed married, so I did not have the same difficulties.
No.
So it was interesting.
It is interesting having these conversations, for sure.
Yeah, because I'm like, you did what? Or that happened? I mean, that's not normal.
Well, I'm going to talk about it, but there's a lot of things that I normalized in my own head, and then when I bring it to you, you're like, no. That's not normal. That's not family behavior, No, we need to, okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk it out, Yeah. So we've had a lot of discussions like that. But, okay, so we want to start with the statistics before we get into the personal stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm going to let you're the statistic guy, so I'm going to let you, I just said that word the right way twice.
You did.
That's kind of miraculous.
Well, it's amazing anyway.
Yeah. That's a rare thing.
Did you want to say anything to your dad before we get into the negatives for children?
No, I just laid it all out. I mean, they are still our primary marriage example.
Okay.
You know, we moved down here with them, and they spend a lot of time with our kids, so our kids are seeing the generational
Definitely
success, you know, the marital success.
And I'm proud of our kids because they're taking each of them separately and then together, taking the initiative on their own to go see them.
Yeah.
And
make sure they're spending time with them.
And they would do the same with my mom if she was here.
If she was closer, yeah.
She's
she's
not.
They love your
not
mom.
close. So okay. So I'm just gonna go through some of the stats. I don't want this whole thing to be about statistics. It's really about how it affects your personal experiences.
But the statistics matter because
they do.
mean, these are things for couples to consider.
Yes.
You know, before they even say that word in their marriage.
Yeah. Well, when we were first married, we made the commitment to not use divorce. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
There's no plan B.
Right.
That episode. It did actually get discussed slightly.
Yeah, it did. For a year or two. It
right. Well, not really divorce itself, but we were there on that brink because of not your fault, but because of the stuff that you had to deal with.
Yeah.
And overcome.
Right.
Right. So we had to work through that.
Yeah.
But we were committed, and we had some help, outside help. But anyway, okay. So
this is what we're primarily focusing on is not the divorce itself, but how it affects your children. Yes. Yeah.
Right. So we're not going to tell you how to avoid divorce.
I think we've got 45 podcasts now. We're up to
that. We're
that are trying to tell you how to avoid divorce.
And then we're going to do some more after this.
Yeah, we are.
When we promised, we said we'd go through the Gottman stuff, and I actually checked a few other sources, and when you get through their books, it's essentially the same thing, really.
Right.
From a Christian perspective, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. The Gottmans, I don't think they're Christian. I couldn't tell.
I don't know.
But they stay pretty neutral about that. But their research shows that it's all the same sort of things to prevent divorce.
Right.
Or what the indicators are, how you fix things. And anyway, so this is really just we wanted to bring a wake-up call to you. We want you to fight for your relationship if you're in that situation. Do whatever it takes to resolve the issues. Go back and listen to our podcast. Go find some trusted source for how to deal with the issues, because 99% of the time we've said it's just because people don't know how to be married.
Yes,
and that's why you end up divorced.
We're going to talk about that too a little bit tonight. Yeah.
Okay.
That
so
whole thing.
let me get on. Like I said earlier, I don't want this to take a lot of time, but you need to hear the stats.
Yeah.
To give you some motivation, right? Everybody says, and I'm getting there, but everybody says, "Oh, kids are resilient; they'll be fine." Blah blah blah, and it's like, well, okay, they learn to cope, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily fine.
They muscle their way through whatever.
Yeah, I mean that's what we all do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When something happens, but that doesn't mean that they are fine.
Right.
All right. So don't believe that. lie, I guess you could call it, going around in our culture.
Right.
Okay, so here we go. Let's see, 2018 meta-analysis. So this is analysis of a number of studies. So the total number of kids was over 500,000. Showed that children of divorce face a 29% higher risk of depression, 12% higher risk of having anxiety, and a 48% higher risk of suicidal thoughts. This is a 2018 meta-analysis. And the studies show that these aren't just fleeting feelings, right? They don't just have them and then they go away. They stay with them into adulthood and then mess with their relationships and their mental health.
Right.
And that's, part of that is what you dealt with.
Yes, and I'm going to go into that.
Yes, but I'm just connecting it. There was a 25-year study found that over 50% of kids from divorced homes had a lower education level than their parents. And then it says, and half turned to serious drug or alcohol abuse as teens. I'm not sure what that half meant. Was it the same 50% or half of the 50%? But either way, even if it's 25% of kids of divorce, they turn to serious drug or alcohol abuse.
Right.
As teens. And again, that'll carry into adulthood. Even kids as young as 5 show conduct problems after the divorce. And this is wild, especially if the marriage was not a war zone to begin with. So if you divorce amicably, the divorce is what causes the harm, not the fighting that you do.
Right.
So just because you have an amicable split, we're just not compatible, whatever dumb excuse you come up with.
Right.
It's still, that's what causes the harm for the children, or of the children. Okay. Kids of divorced parents are 50% likely to finish high school and twice as likely to repeat a grade, with grade point averages 11% lower than their peers from intact families. And this was a 1991 study, and also re-evaluated in 2023. So recently, a 2024 study found almost a one full IQ point drop in test scores 4 years after the divorce, and that hit younger kids the hardest. So there are a number of things that hurt our IQ or help our IQ, and this is one that hurts. Even 1 point is a serious drop. Single parent homes after divorce have double the school absences, meaning twice as many kids were out for 11 or more days a year. Okay. So for kids with intact families, it was like 3% that were out for 11 or more days a year. And for kids of divorced families, it was 6% out for 11 or more days a year. And when you do that, when you're out like that, you hurt. This says specifically math and science scores. I guess that's what they were checking. But anyway, that's a 2003 study. Let's see. All right. Divorce makes kids 2 times more likely to act out, thinking about aggression, substance use, or early sex. Teen girls from fatherless homes are 8 times more likely to get pregnant. So you increase your risk by 8 times. And that's usually because mom gets the kids, because that's the way our court system works. Doesn't matter who's the better parent. And we've talked about studies related to how kids do with intact families versus the dad or
Right.
versus the mom. And I'll just say this again. The study found that kids, when the dad had custody, primary custody, kids did almost as well as if they had an intact family. They did not do as well when they were with their mom.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why, but that's what happens. So if kids are and teen girls are not with their dads, then they're going to be more likely to go look for that male figure in their life and end up getting pregnant while they're still teens. Okay, 2025 study. So this is obviously very recent. Found 5 million. What is this? 5 million kids. Yeah, okay. Study of 5 million kids. So that's a really big check. Found that when their parents get divorced, teen births increased by 73%. And incarceration, meaning going to jail, increased by 43%.
That's huge.
Yes.
That's a big number.
And it's worse for kids under 5. And I'm not saying kids under 5 go to jail, but once the divorce happens and the kids are under 5 and then they grow up a little bit and say they're in high school or maybe even middle school, they start acting out and they end up incarcerated or pregnant.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. And it also messes up their friend group. Often they pull back from friends. All right. A couple more. Okay. 50% of families fall into poverty after the divorce. With kids, their kids 5 times more likely to grow up poor. This was a 2000 study. So you end up with lower adult income, the bad outcomes because they're in poverty, right? You have this family where they're making it work, right? Financially, things are fine. And when they split, you end up with one income, and even if dad's paying child support or whatever, it's not enough to live. And
Yeah.
you end up in poverty, the family ends up in poverty, and the kids are likely to grow up poor as well. All right. Children of divorce are 60% more likely to get a divorce themselves, keeping the cycle going. And we've seen that.
Oh, we have. Yeah.
In our, and people we're close to.
Yes.
60% is about 2/3, and we look at people we're close to, and it's about if their parents were divorced, of that group, it's about 60%, about 2/3.
Yeah.
And then finally, your health. If you're a child, your parents get divorced, and you're a child, you have stress from that, so you end up with a higher BMI, meaning you gain too much weight. And this especially happens if the divorce is before the kid is age 6.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's wild. All right, so the summary here is the data is showing you divorce hurts your kids. And we've said this, and it's true, even if you have a high conflict marriage, if it's worked on the right way, and there's plenty of resources we've talked about, it can be less damaging than splitting up, right? You can figure things out. You can get coaching or counseling or something like that. And then only about 1/3 of the kids avoid serious issues, even when there's great co-parenting. So instead of, if you work things out and stay together, you're not co-parenting, you're parenting together as a family, an intact family. But if you split, and you're co-parenting well, a lot of people think that's all we got to do is just co-parent well, right? And it's like, well, you know what? This says only 30% of kids avoid the issues. That means 60 to 70% of the kids still have those issues, even if you're a great co-parent. And these are studies, not just, numbers we've picked up.
Right.
So you have options. You can figure things out. All right. So, and these studies are out there. I'm not going to list specific ones, but if you are serious enough, you can go.
You can look at ChatGPT or Grok or one of the AI.
Yeah,
they just find everything. They find all the studies.
All right. So that's the statistics and my appeal to try to figure things out from there. So let's move into your experience, some of the notes that you've written down here, and I'll let you do most of the talking, though I may ask a question.
Okay.
Here and there.
So, like I said, I was about 8.5. And because I was old enough, I remember it.
Yeah.
I remember when my parents got divorced. My dad stayed in Memphis where he was going to school to become a nurse, and my mom packed up all our belongings, and her parents, my grandparents, came and picked us all up, and we moved in with them.
Yep.
It was briefly. That was extremely traumatizing, extremely stressful. When you talk about how it affects little kids.
Yeah.
You're taking a child who, you're their entire world. Their world revolves around you and your schedule and being with you and spending time with you and doing things as a family. That's it for them.
Yeah.
And you just took it and dropped it on the ground like a Christmas ornament and shattered it into a million pieces. That's why kids get traumatized. Because you just shattered their entire existence. Yeah. Basically, they're a little kid. All they know is mom and dad, and this is the family. That's it. That's all they know. And if they have siblings or whatever, right? So, moved in with my grandparents. That was not great. My mom almost immediately expected too much of an 8-year-old.
Okay. What do you mean?
The one incident that I remember crystal clear, she went to work immediately. She's a nurse too, so we were living with my grandparents. She had to get up and go to work one morning. And my brother, I guess was my youngest brother, he was a baby at the time, was sleeping with her in her bed, I guess. They were, whatever. Co-sleeping. And so she had to go to work, and she took him out in the family room area and dumped him in a playpen, and then came and got me. Mm-hmm. And said, you need to sit here with your brother until your grandparents get up. I'm 8 years. I'm not old enough to babysit.
Yeah.
So she leaves. He's screaming at the top of his lungs. And I'm terrified. I just remember feeling completely terrified. I don't know what to do with this infant, It was loud enough that it woke up my grandmother, and she came out and she, took care of it or whatever. But that was only the beginning of that cycle. I mean, I'm 8, almost 9 years old, and I'm feeding my baby brother. I'm changing his diapers. And it's not like I'm the big sister. I get to do this. It's more like I'm expected to do it because I've got to step up and be responsible. Mm-hmm. And at 8, I was also, getting up and walking myself to school every day and walking home. And it was a good 4 blocks in the middle of town. Yeah. Can you imagine anywhere letting an 8-year-old by themselves walk down an alley and into the middle of town to go to school? And that's what I did. Yeah. And then at the end of the day, I had to figure out was I going to my grandmother's? What was I doing? And then, so I'm kind of, sort of, more or less a latchkey kid at 8 years old. That's just how it was. My younger brother was not old enough to be in school yet. And the youngest one was the baby. So.
You got two done in school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And it did make it difficult for me to have friends at school and things like that, because she sent me to a Catholic school. Catholics frown on divorce. It's pretty frowned on.
Sure.
And everyone in school knew who my mom was because she grew up there, and she went to school there, and she'd gone to, she knew all the nuns, and it's just. And did I act out? Yeah, I did.
It sounds like you did a lot.
Oh, I did.
Based on what you told me.
Yeah, I acted out a lot. And some of it was just being an obnoxious little kid. But, I didn't correlate it to, I just went through this traumatic experience, and now I'm just trying to figure myself out. But that was probably part of it.
Okay.
I did crazy things, like aggravate the nuns on purpose. I got my hand smacked a lot. The people in my class dared me to go in the bathroom and look under the stall when the nuns were going to the bathroom. So I did it. It's like I didn't care. So anyway, so it was about a year later. Like I said, they both got remarried.
So you were really about 10. You kept saying 8, but I think
yeah,
you started.
I was
about 9.
okay. So I was about 8.5 when it all happened.
Okay.
Right. So I was probably closer to 10 when they both
9
remarried.
and a half, 10.
Yeah,
Okay.
something like that.
Just to clarify.
Yeah. So, and I'm sitting here thinking right now, I've got grandchildren that age.
Yeah.
And I just cannot imagine putting them through any of this.
Yeah.
It's just so hard for me to wrap my head around. But so they both remarried, and like I said, my dad knocked it out of the park. No problem there. Sherry and I always had a really good relationship, and I came to rely on her quite a bit because, like I said, my mom, she put a lot of responsibility on a little kid's shoulders. So when we go visit Dad and Sherry let me be a kid.
Yep.
She was the mom, and I was the kid. And I appreciated that because that was not what I was getting at home. But my mom remarried. I think I've talked about it before, but an abusive alcoholic, all of the things. He had PTSD from Vietnam. He was an extremely angry, bitter person. There was just a lot going on there. And they met and married in 6 weeks.
That's wild.
Yeah, so we're living in this teeny tiny house, and we had a number of kind of caretakers because my mom was working full time. Yeah. None of them were great. None of them were nice people by any stretch of the imagination. One of them was a criminal. She stole stuff before she left. So anyway, so she dated a bunch of men, and then she married Bernie. And sometime after that, I guess I was 11 or I'm trying to remember when it was, but so we moved from there to Indianapolis. Right.
Okay.
So now we're kind of, and I'm seeing my dad once a month, once every couple of months. That's how often he would drive from Memphis to come get us.
Yeah.
And we would go spend the weekend with him. Right. That's how we did it.
That's a long way.
Yeah. Well, he did it, you know. And so things didn't, there's this thing where kids, it does not matter what you tell your child. The reason is that you're getting divorced. And especially if they're younger, your child is going to blame themselves.
Yeah.
And that is something that I walked through myself. I remember going to my mom and saying, if I obey better, will Dad come back? Just saying, because I think that's a standard little kid that you're processing it. Why Why is my parent gone? It's got to be my fault too. I'm part of this family unit, so I did something. And I think most kids, most of them, they deal with that as well.
How long did you think you dealt
No,
with that?
I don't think it was very long. I may have even gone to my dad and said something, and he may have just, this is not you, you know.
Yeah.
And if my dad said something, I generally believed him.
Okay.
You know, I knew my mom was dishonest, but I didn't think my dad was. I never thought my dad was.
Okay.
So, and because she put a lot of responsibility on me, I always felt like I had to take care of my brothers. And I know that's a kind of a typical oldest child thing, but when you're in this situation where you've busted the family and, you know, everything's shattered everywhere, the oldest kid feels that on a deeper level.
Yeah.
You know, like, now I don't need to just protect myself. I've got to protect my siblings too.
Yeah.
You know, and I took a lot of that on myself, and I felt like my mom was not real keen on me expressing any kind of emotions, really, at all.
Yeah, you told me. Okay, so you could express what? Anger?
Anger?
I think you said?
Yeah, for some reason she thought that I looked like a stronger person when I was angry, so I was allowed to express anger, but only to a certain degree, and it could never be anger directed at her.
Yeah.
I was never allowed to be angry at her. Yeah, no, she didn't tolerate that at all, because as far as she was concerned, she was doing the best job ever. And I was not allowed to tell her otherwise.
All right.
I was never allowed to point out any kind of mistake that she made at all, ever.
So what happened if it wasn't anger?
If I got too excited, like too happy, too, you know, like that, I'd get you need to calm down, you need to calm down.
Even if you were happy?
Yeah.
Wow.
And if I got sad, which I'm a little kid, my family just got shattered, it's going to happen, I was sent to my room. Absolutely not. I am not allowed to cry. Ever.
Okay.
Ever. It was never, you know, her putting her arms around me and saying, I understand, or, you know, I know this hurts. I never heard any of that from her. Yep. Never. And so because of that, I felt, like being girly or vulnerable at all was silly and stupid. So being a vulnerable person is still, I'm 56 years old, it's still hard. I still struggle, and you know that.
Yeah.
I still struggle with that. But also, I felt that she never encouraged me to be a girl or to be feminine in any way, shape, or form. And I don't know if that was her feminism that got in there, and, you know, you need to be strong and stand up for yourself and do your own thing. I don't know if that's what it was, or if she saw femininity as weak.
Huh.
I don't know which it was. But I always felt like I was more of a big brother than a big sister to my younger brothers. I don't have any sisters.
So it's something you would have felt anyway.
Probably. But, you know, and I told you a story last night about, you know, when I was 12, I guess. But I'm becoming a teenager. I'm starting to develop little curves, and, you know,
right.
Becoming a girl, right? Becoming a young woman. And I found a dress I liked, and the owner of the shop let me put it on layaway. And I saved up my babysitting money, and I went back and I paid for it every week and it was like a $30 dress, which back then was a lot of money. Today, that's like,
Absolutely.
I do that on a regular basis on Amazon.
Gosh.
So anyway, so I bought this dress, and I was like, I thought I looked kind of cute in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I came downstairs to show her. I put it on, and her first question was, "What boy is this for?" It's like, I'm 12. I don't. What? Why would you ask me that? It like shot down.
Yeah.
So there was that. The Bernie was never physically abusive to me, but he was psychologically and verbally very, very abusive to me. So that didn't help either.
Would you say because, and he was divorced too?
Yes, he was. He had a daughter.
He had a daughter.
Yeah.
From a, right, but
yeah.
Sorry, he was ended up divorced. Would you say that divorced parents, whether they get remarried or not, but even if they get remarried, as in your case, that they tend to be angrier?
Yeah. Yeah. One of my younger brothers deals with a lot of the same anger issues that I do.
Okay.
And he did therapy for a while. I don't know that it did a lot for him. And I'm not really sure if he's still doing that, but we both have found the gym to be the best therapy for both of us.
Yeah.
That's just kind of how we handle it all,
Yeah.
That's just how we do it. I never went to therapy, and I'm kind of glad that I didn't do that.
I don't think today's therapy helps.
So how does all this correlate to these statistics that you read? Right.
Okay.
That's what this is about, is how divorce affects children from the time that it happens. It could be for the rest of their lives if they don't deal with it, right?
Sure.
You read these statistics about 29% higher risk of depression and anxiety, and a 48% higher for suicidal thoughts. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you, I dealt with all of that. All of it. And, Bernie was not a stabilizing force in my life the way a father should be. My mom definitely wasn't. My mom, like I said, she put a lot of responsibility on my shoulders. I had to take care of my brothers from a young age, and we were taken care of by other people for a period of time, and then it fell back on me again. Mm-hmm. And I was just expected to do it.
Yeah.
Right? And I did go through a period of feeling suicidal when I was 15 or 16 years old, right? Anxiety was just a constant in my life.
Yeah.
When a little kid goes through that, and you break the way they cope with the world around them, I think, and you introduce that anxiety in their life, they start to think that things could just fall apart at any moment all the time. And I think you introduce that into a little kid's brain too young, and they don't know how to deal with it.
Okay.
I think that's a big part of it, right? They're just waiting for disaster.
Sure.
Waiting for disaster. Because they just went through one of the biggest, apart from losing a parent, mm-hmm. like in a physical, like the parent dies, mm-hmm. they just went through the most traumatic thing that a little kid can go through.
Yeah.
One of their parents is no longer a big part of their lives the way they were before. And so you've introduced anxiety to a 5-year-old who doesn't have the brain capacity to deal with it. And now the 5-year-old is coming up with coping mechanisms that are not healthy for anybody.
True.
Yeah. And so I think that's where that statistic comes from.
Okay.
I really do. You alter a kid's brain chemistry just like if you take a 7-year-old and show them porn. You just altered that kid's brain chemistry, and now he's got that to deal with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the same kind of, I think it's probably the same kind of trauma in a sense.
Sure. I mean, you're giving them
Something they're not.
a responsibility.
Yeah.
They're not mature enough.
They're not mature enough to deal with, right?
Okay.
So lower education, I can tell you right now, I did okay in school until about the 3rd or 4th grade, and then it just all fell apart. Like, I did not do well in school from that period on. And, you know, both my parents are working. I mean, I will say this, and this is something that you and I have discussed frequently. I talk about divorce like it's kind of a normal thing, because for me, not only was it a normal part of my life, most of my friends came from broken homes.
Huh. Okay.
I would say half, maybe a little more than half, were in single parent households. And that's because our generation, Gen X, we were the first generation to deal with that on a mass scale. All of a sudden, there's no fault divorce, so you've got couples just splitting, just for no real reason.
Yeah.
Other than, I just don't love you anymore, or I found somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, or
I don't know how to deal with the fighting.
Yeah, we're fighting too much. You know, there's just that. It's things that couples can and should work through.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you know, once you marry someone and you have a family, your life is not really about you anymore.
True.
It's not. You're supposed to, as a mature adult human being, put aside your own needs and wants in favor of the needs and wants of the people around you, right?
Right.
And in a healthy, functional marriage, you're going to receive that love back from your spouse.
Yeah.
That's the way it should work.
Yeah, so you're
Right.
not trying to fulfill your need yourself.
Yeah.
You fulfill it for someone else and for your children.
Yeah.
And your spouse fulfills it for you and for your children. So you're working together as a team.
Yeah.
And we've said before, the whole point of marriage is, one of the whole points of marriage is you're locked in, right? That's the way it used to be.
Yeah.
And
prior to no fault divorce, that is exactly how it was.
It's like you are locked in.
Yeah.
It's very hard to get a divorce.
There was shame attached to it.
Yes.
That it wasn't the case anymore.
Well, yeah. And there's a reason for that shame. You should be ashamed that you can't figure out how to fix your marriage. Anyway, I was getting at the whole point of marriage is you're locked in and you must become a better person. Right?
It is part of a grow. It's part of your growing process.
Grow.
Yeah.
And if you just run, no fault divorce says I'm not happy, I'm running, or I found somebody else, I'm running.
Yeah.
My feelings have changed, I'm running.
Right.
So you're never going to grow. You just, as we said, you're going to run away and take your problem, which is you, with you.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway. So getting back to you.
Yeah. Well. I mean, I'm kind of, you know, the one other person who stepped in for me in a big way was my youth group leader.
Yep.
So between Diana and Sherry, I've had mom figures, you know, to help me mature a little bit anyway. I was still a hot mess. There was something in there about, you know, kids from divorce drink when they're children. And that wasn't just the case in my house. My mom was my drinking buddy. She...
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a whole other, you know, can of worms. Anyway... But I was susceptible to that because, you know, I've got this constant anxiety living in this house. And the alcohol certainly made that go away. Or I thought it did ananyway.
You thought it just a temporary fix.
Yeah.
And you carried that.
I did.
Into our marriage.
Yes, I did.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was okay for a while, but then as we got more children, we had more children.
Yeah.
And they were getting older and so on. And I don't think we were getting the support we should have from the church.
No.
That was around the time that things were starting to fall apart there. So there's this underlying anxiety about that. So you brought that same pattern into our marriage.
Yeah.
And it was there until we really started working on it. Until you did most of the hard work. I mean, to work on yourself, to overcome that.
I had a lot of help.
I understand. but people need to understand that you have to do the work.
Yeah.
Yourself. People are there to support you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's you. And if you don't do it, it doesn't get done.
Right. And you will continue to carry it forward in your life and, just disrupt every relationship friendship, relationship, your kids, whatever it is, your siblings, it's going to continue to be disruptive.
Right.
Until you let it out and deal with it. That's just how it is.
Yeah. Okay.
So I did listen to an interesting podcast yesterday, and that was the name of it, How Divorce Traumatizes Children.
That was coincidental.
It was coincidental because I was getting ready to listen to something else. I'd gone down another rabbit hole, and then I saw that title, and I was like, well, now I have to listen to that. I've got to, I've got to hear what this guy has to say. And he was not from the same kind of situation, but when he started to describe what he went through as a kid, I was like, there's a lot of parallels. So I feel like the experience of children going through divorce, even though they might experience it in different ways, because all families are different, there's a universality to, you yank the rug out from under a kid, and they're probably going to deal with that for decades.
Yeah.
So, and that's what he was kind of describing, and so I started just recalling. That's when I started recalling my own, what I went through and all of that.
Okay.
But as some of the things that he talked about, like when parents make that decision, whether it's this total war zone where they're just yelling at each other, or there's all this fighting and slamming doors and all the other nonsense, or they just go, I just don't love you anymore. There's a message that's sent to your children.
Mm.
And that message is, that marriage is fleeting. It can just be tossed in the trash. So, and that commitment doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
Because you can just change your mind about it on a whim. And that's not, commitment is supposed to be, no, I'm doing this thing until I don't have to do it anymore.
Okay.
It's not until I don't want to do it anymore.
Sure.
It's till I don't have to do it anymore. And with marriage, that's death.
Yeah.
That's
what you promise.
Yes.
Right?
It's right there in your vows, yeah.
Yeah, generally.
Yeah. So, but you're also telling your kids that marriage is, it's not really supposed to last forever. So then that's why that statistic is so high, because that's been the message to your child. You're saying marriage is something you do when you feel like you're in love, but then when you don't feel that anymore, it's okay to just go your separate ways and move on with someone else.
Yeah.
And that's not the way, I don't think that's the way we're wired. And when you're a little kid, that's not how you see things either. Your parents are committed to each other and they're committed to you.
Right. And they'll think, well, you broke your commitment to each other.
Yeah.
So what's to stop you from breaking your commitment to me?
And that sounds irrational, but to a 5-year-old or an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old, it's not.
Yeah. I don't even think, I don't think yes, it hurts little kids, but I don't think it matters how old you are. in the end. I mean, you may be able to cope with it better because you're older.
Yeah.
Say you're 16
Yeah.
or 18 or 20, and your parents get divorced. It's like you're an adult, and if you're a reasonable adult, you could probably cope with it better. But that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt.
Actually, we know someone who's going through that right now.
I was going to get to that.
Yes.
We know someone right now, and he's
in his mid-30s.
Mid-30s, and his parents got divorced, and his dad's remarrying.
For the third time?
I think so.
Third time.
And it's like, he's an adult. He's 35, and he's looking at his parents going, oh my gosh. And he doesn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
He's struggling with it. I will say that he's got a lot of support from friends and church, and if you don't have that, I mean, how do you deal with something like that? So just because you're an adult doesn't mean the effects go away.
Right.
I don't think he's going to turn to drugs.
No.
Or anything like that.
No.
But it's still.
But you can see
painful.
That it's still traumatic to him, even though he has been married for how long?
I don't know.
10 years or something no, more like 15 years or something like that. And they've got 2 kids, and they've got a great home and a great life, and he loves his work that he does and everything. But there's this thing.
Yeah. There's this destructive thing.
Yeah, it's a destructive thing. It really is a destructive thing.
It's almost like, well, I mean, I don't know. Is it worse than losing a parent?
Actually, I think it might be.
Or about the same.
I think it might be, because when you lose a parent, there is closure. At least you hope that there is, right? You've watched them walk through some awful disease, or they've gotten older and they passed away, or there was an accident of some kind. You know what I mean? There's something like that. So, but with a divorce, it's like this lingering. What happened?
Yeah.
Why is this?
I mean, he's still here.
He's still
doing
here.
His thing.
Yeah. Or she is. Whichever spouse it is.
Well, in his case, it's his dad, but it's like he's still hurting my mom.
Yeah. And hurting my siblings,
yeah.
And there's a whole. So this person is still around and still causing pain.
Yeah, it's not like they just shunned him or anything like that. It's like, but he doesn't know how to go talk to him.
Yeah.
When he visits, it's like, what am I going to do or say? I mean.
Yeah, and it is like, he says he's going to go spend a couple of hours with his dad when they're going to be in town for like several days.
Yeah.
Right? But that's about all he can manage with his dad, just because of the way this relationship is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. I mean, all of that to say, it hurts you when you're an adult too.
It does. It does. But we're talking about how it affects a child and how it can shape their life and shape the way they think about things. Because I know another thing that I went through, I may have mentioned this one in a prior podcast, but after I ran off and I lived with somebody for a little while, and then I moved in with Dad and Sherry. And I had been through kind of multiple relationships, and I broke off most of them. Because I, at that point, had some really negative thoughts towards men, believe it or not. That's just the way my thinking had developed, I think.
Okay.
Being around Bernie had a lot to do with that, right?
Okay.
So I had broken off most of those relationships. But when I moved in with Dad and Sherry, I was she was in her office doing stuff or whatever. And I just went in and sat on the floor, and we're just chatting about things. And so I'm kind of literally and figuratively sitting at her feet, absorbing her wisdom.
Yeah.
And I said, I do want to get married, but, I don't want to have kids right away. Because what if it doesn't work? I don't want to put my kids through what I went through.
Yeah.
I'd rather know that and then, end it if I need to before I have children.
Yeah.
And she was sitting there writing at the desk, and she put down the pencil and turned around and looked at me and went, "No, honey." That's not how this works. And she had a serious discussion with me about maintaining your marriage and how to maintain your marriage. And she said, this is a commitment you make to a man for good.
Yeah.
And you commit your marriage to God or it will not succeed.
Yeah.
And it clicked for me right there. That's all I needed to hear.
Okay.
My mom could have said that to me decades before. She didn't say that. She kind of told me what I spewed back to Sherry. That was her message. That was my mom's
That was
message.
the cultural message?
Yeah, it was.
It still is?
It was. It's worse now.
Uh-huh.
It's worse now, I think. But, and Sherry had been through a divorce.
Right.
Prior to marrying my dad. So God brought those two people together to break the generational trauma in their own families and for us.
Yeah.
And for us. Where was I going to go with that?
You were talking about how similar this guy on the other podcast.
Yes.
The things that he talked about were similar to what you experienced.
Yeah.
So like parallel.
Not exactly the same.
Not exactly. Yeah. Okay. But the point is that there's similar issues.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So go through. I mean, I know you wrote a bunch of stuff down. So.
Well, I already talked through. Let's see. It causes a lot of times. There's not just the instability of your parents splitting up, but then he said in his experience he moved several times.
Okay.
So it's like, I'm a little kid, my dad's not here anymore, and now I have to live somewhere new every 6 months to a year.
Yep.
So it's not like a military brat where you're like, it's just the way it is. We're going to move somewhere else, and I've got to make new friends.
But it's usually longer than 6 months.
Yeah. It's this, mom's in poverty.
Yeah.
So, we're going to keep moving until we can find somewhere that we can afford. And my mom she was below the poverty line.
Yeah.
When we lived in that little house in Vincent. For sure. We were relying on food banks and, all kinds of stuff like that.
Yep.
So that's pretty common.
Yeah.
And someone else I know, his kids, most of them are okay. At least they seem to be at this point. One of them is a little on the line. We're not real sure which direction she's going to go in yet, but the divorce bankrupted him to the point that he was living in a 1-bedroom apartment by himself and couldn't really even see his own kids, even though they all lived in the same city.
Yeah.
So, now you've got the kids going to dad's 1-bedroom apartment for a visit every once in a while.
Yeah.
And dad's miserable.
Sure.
It's just it messes with a kid's head a lot.
Oh, yeah.
To see your parents go through that, So, let's see.
Just looking through notes here. Give us a second.
I want to talk briefly about how my faith played a role in everything I went through, because I think I don't know if I've said this before, but I don't think there's ever been a point in my life where I doubted that God was there.
Okay.
There have been, like with anybody who has a relationship with the Lord, you have your ups and downs, and you feel real connected at times, and then other times he feels distant. Right.
Definitely. Yeah.
But I never doubted that he was there.
Okay.
And that was somewhat of a stabilizing force in my life throughout the whole thing.
Okay.
It really was. I like to tell people that Jesus is my rock and you help me hang on.
Okay. He's my rock too. So we're both hanging on. Okay.
Let's see.
No, keep going.
No, okay. I did want to talk, a little bit about, he talked about how adults, they will rationalize the decision to get a divorce.
Oh,
and we talked about that just, a few minutes ago about how you just say, well, I just don't love you anymore. And if the love's not there, we may as well call it quits.
Yeah.
And that is also a societal thing where we've redefined the word love.
Sure.
Because it does not mean what you think it means.
Right.
People have taken love and they've condensed it down to a feeling.
Yeah.
And it's not. Love is a very big word, and it means a lot of things. Your feelings are wrapped up in it, right? But if you think about, I don't love you the same way I love my dad. I don't love my dad the same way I love my kids. I don't love my kids the same way I love my grandkids.
Right.
I don't love my dad the same way I love my brothers. It's all different, right? And so it's not a feeling. It's a lot of things. And when people say, I don't love you anymore, what you're really saying is, you don't give me those dopamine hits anymore, and I don't think I can live with it. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, it really comes down to that.
It really is.
The dopamine. And
you don't get the tingles.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of the commitment saying, I'm going to do this because this is it's an honorable thing.
Yeah.
It's a growth thing for both of us.
Yeah.
It's a stabilizing force in the world.
Yeah.
In society. Seriously. Oops, I have an alarm. I have a cheesecake in the oven. Woo! So I'm going to pause for a second and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. I saved the cheesecake. It's doing well. All right.
So I think I want to wrap this up. I hope the statistics were enough to scare you into thinking twice. Think about what you're doing to your children. But I think that's adults. If you're an adult, I hope you're an adult if you're married. It does mean that from time to time you're going to have to swallow your pride to make your marriage work, right? You've got to demonstrate some humility. You've got to admit that you're wrong. You've got to have the fight. You've got to work it out, and then you've got to extend forgiveness. Yeah. Right?
I think it's about grace.
It really is.
Toward each other, and if you continue to do that and show appreciation, physically stop it, right? Stop with the, I'm not going to show any respect or show love or show appreciation until they change. Just cut that crap and do it, right? Yeah. And we've talked about this multiple different ways.
Right. And
if you both do it, you can fall in love again. The feelings will come back, but that's not what you're after. You're after a solid marriage and a good relationship with you, and to demonstrate that for your children.
Well, I think what my dream would be to see this form of generational trauma stop. And the only thing that's going to stop it at this point, because divorce is way too easy.
It is.
It is way too easy in most states to just snap your fingers and be divorced. And most judges will just grant it, and there's no waiting period. There's no talking about reconciliation. You just leave the person. And, like I said, unfortunately, that started with our generation in a serious way.
During that time with no fault of
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. During the late 70s, early 80s, all that. It needs to stop. This is what happened was we took marriage and we put it in this category where it's just cheap and throwaway. Yeah. And that's not the way it was intended to be. And now we're seeing multiple generations of children well, I hate to use the word traumatized, but that's all you can say. That's really all it is. And they're growing up thinking that marriage doesn't matter, commitment doesn't mean anything, and believe me, they're going to extend that to other parts of their life, not just their marriage.
Yeah. It affects other parts.
It affects everything. When you think that commitment doesn't matter, it's gonna blanket everything in your life, not just your marriage.
I think we need to remember that these studies were looking at the serious effects on children and how it affected them IQ wise, drug use wise, teen pregnancy wise, right? But it wasn't 100% of kids who got into drugs, but it is 100% of kids who are traumatized by that divorce.
Yes, and
right, so they still carry feelings forward.
Yes,
even if they don't make bad life choices or whatever.
They're still going to come up with unhealthy coping mechanisms.
Right.
They're going to do that. And
we see that in the continued high divorce rate and not married, the kids, not getting married because they're afraid of marriage, because it's too easy to just blow up and they don't know how to do it.
Or they never just saw a healthy example of it in their own family.
Exactly.
They don't know how to walk that out, and how to make it work the right way.
Yeah.
And it really is up to, well, I wish Gen X had done a better job because our generation didn't do such a great job with all that. But it really is up to the current generations to break that cycle.
Yeah. This is a generational thing.
It really is.
Break the cycle, because good marriages form a good society. Right?
Yeah.
We talked about this before, right? And your marriage is for you, but it's also for the good of the community around you and overall the good of society, meaning our country.
Your marriage is not there for the sole purpose of making you happy.
Right.
That is not the only purpose of...
And you can be happy in your marriage.
Yes, you should
but
be.
That's not its sole purpose.
No, it's not.
And maybe not its primary purpose.
I don't think it is.
No. I mean, we said it's for your growth.
Yes.
Right? So you got to figure out how to make things work.
Yeah.
How do I work? How do I live with this person?
Yeah.
How do I become more humble? How do I become more gentle, more patient, more respectful, more loving?
Yeah.
Right? That's what it's about. And then when you do that, then you see the bigger picture, as I've already mentioned. It's a big picture thing, right? It's not just you two. It's how multiple you twos out there all form a good, polite, civil society that works.
Okay, but to bring it back down to where we're at, like you said, we've got 5 out of 6 who are married.
Yep.
The marriages they're stable.
Yep.
And
solid,
and my oldest has been married for almost 17 years.
Yeah.
And I reached out to her to encourage her because she is now extending that wisdom to one of my nieces.
Yeah.
Who is now married.
Yeah.
And I reached out to her to encourage her, I'm proud of her for stepping in and saying the right things. Telling her what marriage is and giving her the right wisdom, right? And she said, I learned it from you. And I'm going, and I learned it from Sherry.
Yeah.
It's just, so it's being passed down, and now my grandkids are getting to watch.
Yeah.
Solid, stable families, marriages. Yes, we fight. Yes, there's trouble. There's problems sometimes. But for the most part, the kids that are around us, they love each other.
Yeah.
They communicate all the time.
Yeah.
They share resources. They talk to each other. They share advice. They talk about things. Our children, yeah. And that's what my grandchildren are now seeing modeled.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal. It really is. And I'm not bragging on us. Our marriage could have gone bad in a million different ways.
Yeah, it could have. I didn't know what I was doing when we were talking to each other.
And we've shared before, at one point, we were the only stable marriage in either family on either side.
Yeah.
And so some of that was like, well, now we can't give up. We can't do it too, Somebody's got to be the rational person in this, you know.
Well, but we had that mindset.
Yeah.
Because other people might take the mindset, well, it was okay for them, so it's probably okay for us too.
Right.
And we didn't have that mindset. We had the mindset of, no, this is going to work. I mean, I didn't want to hurt our children.
Yeah, well, having been through it myself, obviously, I didn't want to put my own kids through it either.
Right.
You know, that is not what I wanted to do at all.
Okay.
So I hope that this was helpful. I know I went on for a little bit there about my own trauma, but I do think that a lot of what I experienced is universal amongst the children who went through, their parents went through divorce.
Yeah. I mean, you showed that, listen to this other guy's podcast.
Yeah.
I think seeing your friends' marriages.
Right.
Or parents' marriages and how they dealt with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it wasn't just because your parents were who they were.
Right.
Right. It was a lot related to the divorce itself and your feelings about that and the results of where your family ended up.
Yeah.
Because of the divorce.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, thank you, Dad and Sherry, for being that primary example to us. And just, I'm going to try to say this without choking up.
You can do it.
Just know that the fact that Kate is now passing that wisdom down to women younger than her, that is because of what you and Sherry did in the relationship that you had and that you modeled for all of us.
Yep.
And I know that if I asked these, you know, the children that are around us right now, I know if I asked them that they would give that same answer. They would say the same thing.
Yeah.
And they would also point to your parents as well. I mean, they never saw your parents fight or, you know, or anything. And your parents walked through some difficult things. And then, you know, we had to walk through your dad passing away. And, you know, that was a whole thing. But
yeah, but they stayed married. It was a very stable marriage, and they gave me a good life. So that's why I didn't experience. I had to learn the experience of what you went through.
Yeah, that was, like I said, some of that was kind of amusing because I would just come to you and just tell you casually. Something traumatic. To me, it wasn't trauma, right? But I'd come to you and tell you, and you'd go, "What?"
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you went through that. That's not normal at all.
Yeah, right.
You know, but to me, it's like, oh, well, okay. How would I know?
Yeah.
How would I know? Anyway.
But I also want to add on for George and Sherry. If you're listening, you know, I want to thank you for the part you played in Abby's life and our lives once we got together. I think it helped us head off in the right direction in a lot of areas, and it set our minds to making our marriage work.
Yeah.
Right. It's I mentioned mindset before, and you taught us that you said it right. This mindset of this is going to work.
Yeah.
We're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And then you were there with us and for us.
Yeah.
And then finally, you know, this has only happened. Well, I mean, I can see it in our kids, and whichever the kids are listening, you know, I want to say that we are proud of them for how they're doing their marriages. All of them. They're stable. Their kids are happy.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to have great marriages, and they're very open. So I think if there was something going on, they would let us know. So there's nothing hidden, nothing strange going on. It's all seems great, and I'm proud of them.
Yeah.
Not because we were great parents, because we weren't.
We made a lot of mistakes.
I mean, we did our best, right?
Yeah.
Just like everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody does their best, but the point is that we were able to stay together because we had good examples and a good mindset. And I hope that is passed on to our kids, and you pass it on to your kids. And you pass it on to whoever you're
somebody's
talking to.
Somebody's got to break this. That's got to stop.
Just keep thinking of it that way. It's like don't start that cycle over again.
Right.
And for our nieces and nephews, also, right? I've seen one of them. Well, Sarah's the one that's married.
Yeah.
I can mention her name, and I think proud of her too.
Yeah.
For just how she and her husband have worked through things and improved their marriage.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the nieces and nephews aren't married yet, but you may be someday, and we see you working toward the right kind of life and learning the right things.
Right.
So that's a great thing.
Yeah.
And I'll shut up because I don't want to start choking up too.
Yes, we're putting a lot of burden on the next generation, but it's time. It's time for this to stop. It's time for this sort of trauma to stop. And I wish that we could snap our fingers and change the courts and change the divorce laws and all of that, but
it's going to take a lot of time. I mean, it's been going on for 60 years.
Yeah.
Right? So we don't want to go back to pre no-fault divorce and, some of the things they use to get no-fault divorce. And I'm not going to go into all that, but we don't want to necessarily go back to that, but we want to come out on the other end with a more balanced approach. I would say laws today incentivize getting divorced.
They absolutely do.
They make it, not just make it easy, but they make it so that you want to.
Yes.
So we need to end that. We need to make sure marriages, people understand what marriage really is about and how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to take training.
Yeah.
And then people who can't do it, who can't hack it, then don't get married. That's just that simple. Don't get married and don't have kids. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
Right? Your children need a stable family, so you need to be married to have kids.
Yeah.
Right? Otherwise, you're hurting children. I mean, what's wrong with you? Anyway. Oh my gosh. Okay, enough of that.
Well, we want to wrap this one up. We've gone a little long tonight, but I really felt like this was a very important topic to cover. A lot of talk about divorce is wrapped up more in how the parents feel about each other, about their marriage, about the commitment, and nobody is really talking about how it affects the next generation down.
Yeah.
And what it does to them to see their family come apart like that.
Yeah.
And
then it affects their grandchildren too.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Because the cycle just carries on.
Yeah, it does.
And then your great-grandchildren. I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
You're not just hurting your own kids or yourself just because you're not happy.
Yeah.
Because you can't hack it. Or you can't figure things, I don't want to put it that way. Because you can't put down your pride and figure things out.
Right.
You're hurting the next generation and the next generation after that. And
Absolutely.
Maybe the next generation after that.
Yeah.
Because the cycle just keeps going on.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I don't mean to rant or preach, but it's a pretty base, serious, important thing for your future, for our future,
mm-hmm.
and for our kids' future.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Okay. Well, I really hope that you listened to the end and you found this helpful. You can look up all the statistics that we mentioned on your own. They're all out there. These studies have been done over and over again. And it really does give you something to think about when you put it in terms of like solid numbers that you can look at.
Yeah.
So I think we'll wrap this up. So have a nice evening, and we will try to get the next recording out in the next month or so, I think.
Yeah. I think we'll finally get to the Gottman stuff.
Probably.
Which is more positive of how to do things.
Yeah.
Right? All right.
Okay. So this has been Marriage on the Half Shell, Raw and Exposed.
See ya.